What recovering better with sustainable energy for all means for African nations. Over 560 million people still lack access to electricity. 9 out of 10 live in Africa. With 85 million in Nigeria, 68 million in DR Congo, 36 million in Tanzania, 14 million in Chad, and 5 million in Ghana. Africa's odyssey to total electrification by 2030, following the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, may not be a walk in the park.
We need action from everyone, everywhere. 17 Sustainable Development Goals are our guide. They are a to-do list for people and planet and the blueprint for success.
Especially with the restrictions caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. It is estimated that about $31 billion is required every year for Africa to achieve total electricity access by 2030. This includes providing clean cooking options to about 900 million people on the continent. Before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, Africa, much like the rest of the world, was experiencing an energy transition. The transition actively encourages nations to move towards clean and sustainable energy according to the commitments with the United Nations and the Paris Agreement. The pandemic hit several sectors across the globe and has awakened governments, especially in Africa, to the dire need to focus on electrification and energy security. Several countries are deliberately seeking ways to ensure that access to electricity would never be a problem if there is a future pandemic.
For the first time in Africa, you actually have African governments writing to you and asking you, how do I recover better with sustainable energy? How do I change the course of how I do things?
So how can these nations make a better recovery post-COVID-19? The United Nations Sustainable Energy for All published a guide to help African nations recover better and remain on track to their international commitments towards clean energy solutions. The guide was put together by a team of African leaders: the Vice President of Nigeria, the Prime Minister of Rwanda, United Nations Deputy Secretary General, Special Advisor and Assistant Secretary General of the Climate Action Team, Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, African Union Commission. To meet the world's emissions reduction targets, address the climate crisis, and implement low-carbon technologies whilst recovering better towards reaching sustainable energy access. The United Nations, through the Sustainable Energy for All, might just have the right to-do list. Sustainable Energy for All guidelines set to create enabling environments that help nations accelerate towards energy transitions and recover better following the COVID-19 pandemic.
I think what the COVID pandemic has shown is just how important energy access is, and having sustainable energy, not just to deal with crisis, but it's also important for everyday life. Like, it's important in terms of even lockdown to tell people to stay at home when they don't have access to electricity or have access to clean cooking is also hard. So I think it's amplified the effort and shown that, having electricity and energy access is critical right now in Africa, but globally as well.
Here are 7 ways African countries can recover better. 1. Introducing energy-efficient buildings. Structures built between 2017 and 2037 will most likely be around in 2060. Promoting energy-efficient buildings now is necessary to ensure emissions are reduced on the path towards a sustainable environment. 2. Government-led initiatives to support sector-specific workforce increases human capital available to support the looming sector. This support includes governments working closely with state and privately owned educational and technical institutions to ensure there is a talent pool for renewable energy systems. 3. Elimination of fossil fuel subsidies. With the price of oil being the lowest it has been for 18 years, the government should use this opportunity to eliminate fossil fuel subsidies and encourage renewable energy systems.
In most sectors of this economy, what is lacking most is new investment and investment to maintain what is there. To do that, then the pricing of those commodities have to be driven by the market. But if you're going to do that, then the whole question of subsidies has to be addressed in an equilibrium pricing model.
4. Adopting cost-reflective tariffs. Governments are encouraged to move towards cost-reflective tariffs to allow power utilities to perform better and increase energy access through adequate energy investments. 5. Investment in data. Governments need to invest in the effective provision of data to include information on available communities and positioning commercial investments for electrification and clean cooking solutions.
I think that something that's, of course, one of the great silver linings in this the pandemic cloud is really the fact that we must do something about data and we must ramp up what we're doing already. But we are a little further up than maybe imagined.
6. Robust policies and institutions set up to support renewable, electrification, clean cooking, and energy efficiency. This includes collective efforts by the necessary tiers of public bodies such as regulators and rural electrification agencies. Lastly, ease of business. Governments must significantly reduce red tape and the number of permits required for entrepreneurs to run businesses for renewable energy and clean cooking equipment and appliances. Successful implementation of these enablers would mean, firstly, effecting energy security. Nations will be able to scale investments that support upstream value chain in manufacturing of centralized and decentralized systems technologies for renewables. 2. Reduction or elimination of import duties on renewable energy systems. Current taxes and fees existing increase the retail cost of renewable energy systems, making renewable energy solutions unaffordable. 3. Distribution of clean cooking fuels. Providing clean cooking access includes developing supply chains to support the distribution of clean fuels and stoves, as well as creating valuable awareness. 4. Significant job creation for the indigenous workforce. Investment in clean energy creates 3.5 times the number of jobs than jobs in fossil fuels with the same size investment. Power for All found that for every 1,000 solar homes or solar mini-grids, supports approximately 25 jobs. 5. Economic impact. Providing clean cooking reduces time poverty and the pressure of healthcare and the environment. IRENA found that for every US dollar invested in the energy transition with renewables, an average of 0.93 of GDP growth is expected to occur. Agricultural yields increase for farmers by 30% with just one piece of energy-powered processing equipment. Likewise, energy access introduces refrigeration and cold room storage, which would reduce total food loss and waste by 25%. 6. Gender equality. Recovering better with sustainable energy increases wages for women, as there is more access to female employment through the deployment of renewable energy systems. The clean cooking solution reduces the amount of time spent fetching firewood and other cooking fuels that could foster time for education and growing businesses. India, through implementing enabling environment in 8 years, increased its 938 million electrified population to 1.2 billion. Today's decision will impact tomorrow's ability to recover better. Are African nations ready to recover better?